Okay, we are going to make a collective mural. And if you are a teacher who I intended that how to design a collective mural video for, and you saw this, or if you're one of my students who figured out you could go out to my YouTube channel outside of our web filter and see the pictures that you're doing, which is not what I intended, you already have seen these things right here. Okay? So these are the little pieces that I cut out of the various pictures that we're going to be reassembling. And honestly, I don't think it matters if you know what it is that we're making, but if you are one of those students, I hope that you will keep it to yourself. Okay? Not a lot of hope of that happening, but anyway. All right, so I'm going to make one of these, and look at the ones. So each of my students got one of these that has all these little squares taped to them. Okay, and so I'm going to pick one that I think will be pretty, not too easy. The kid who gets one of these is going to be so happy because all he has to do is paint his square yellow. But first he must paint it white, or she, because if you try to put yellow on cardboard, look what happens. If you decide you're going to skip this step of painting your cardboard white, look what happens. That does not cover, okay? It doesn't look the same as if you paint it on a yellow piece of paper. We need it to look like that, not like this, okay? So, first you must paint your cardboard white. We did that in another video. Here it is, all right? Then, look at how I'm cleaning my brushes. Then, we're going to draw the image from our chosen square, and I'm going to use this one because I think that it's not too simple and it's not too complicated, and it's really similar to what a lot of you got. Now I'm just going to do that just to hold that down a little bit, okay? I'm also going to bring my paint bucket in here so that you can see me cleaning my brushes when I'm using the paint bucket. Okay, so before I'm going to start painting, I am going to draw this right here on here. So students, this is just like when you did your grid drawing, except instead of trying to recreate each one of the little squares, you're reproducing this square on the whole thing. So I'm going to look at this and see, I'm going to do some pencil comparisons, only I guess they're going to be eyeball comparisons here. This little black thing here is about a third of the way down on my left side. This little thing here is about a third of the way up. So I'm just going to visually divide this into thirds, and now I know that I'm going to make a triangle in the corner like that. And down here, I'm going to, this comes up a little, like that. Now look over here, this is more like fourths, okay? So now I'm going to visually divide this bottom edge into rough fourths, okay? Alright, so I want this to come up and then come back down in that corner. Now, I've got this little insert here. Right? So I've got this bottom part done. That fast. Oh look, over here I've got a little black bump that comes up, and it doesn't quite go as high as, it's about half the height of this. Right? So there's my little black bump, and then there's this tiny little black thing in the corner. Okay? So I drew that. Now I'm going to deal with this rectangle here, this big rectangle. So this one is coming down almost from this upper, almost right in the corner. It almost touches this little black bump. It almost touches the middle of this black bump. And then I wouldn't say that's a third. It's like somewhere in between a quarter and a third. So I'm going to put it right there. So now you can use a ruler if you want to, but you don't have to use a ruler. You can just use a straight edge. I guess I'll use a ruler because I know some of you like to make things perfect. So I'm going to use a ruler, but you can also just like use the edge of a piece of cardboard, right? You could use this little piece of cardboard here to draw. In fact, that's what I'm going to do. I'm just going to use this piece of cardboard so you can see how easy it is to draw a straight edge with something besides a ruler. Okay. So there we go with that. Line number 1. Line number 2. Line number 3. Okay. All right, I'm almost there. Now I just need to do this red triangle in here, which is, it's just like a really thick outline. In fact, I think it's probably a little thicker than that. If your pencil runs out of eraser, remember I gave you that pink eraser to use. Oh no, it didn't erase up. It doesn't matter. I'm going to paint right over it. Remember, perfection. Perfectionism is the enemy of creativity. Don't get all stressed out if you make mistakes or if you think you've made a mistake. You likely have not made a mistake. Okay, there I go. That is how easy it is to do one of these little drawings. Okay, so now what am I going to do? I am going to paint. Now I only got my paint cups out that have the paint that I actually need. I need red, black, yellow, and I might need a little white, so I got that out. And also, remember that white makes dark colors cover better. That may sound like some kind of oxymoron, but it is a fact that white makes dark colors cover better. So I'm going to start with this red here in the middle and work my way out, okay? So I'm going to scoop some red out and I'm going to put it on here. Now look what happens if I just start painting with red. Look how transparent that is. Doesn't work for me. Okay, so what I need to do is get a little bit of white. Notice how I'm not using the same brush that I used. I'm going to put a little white right there to dip the white out of the white cup. Okay, now I'm going to take my red brush and I'm going to add some white into that red. Not a lot. Acrylic paint dries darker, so it doesn't matter if this isn't super dark on the first coat, and you might want to do 2 or 3 coats. Look how that's covering better already. I'm also going to remind you of the lesson that I showed you when we did that mural in the school cafeteria, the elementary school cafeteria. We do not draw straight lines with a tiny little brush like this. Okay, we draw straight lines by doing something that sign painters, which practically don't exist anymore because of digital sign making and large format printers, call cutting. They call it cutting. Okay? And cutting is when you take your brush, you load your brush up with paint, and then you take it and you lay it down next to where you want a straight edge, and then you just paint right up next to that line. Look how straight that is. Cutting, ladies and gentlemen, this is called cutting. Because I've taught you this, if we ever have a zombie apocalypse and all the electricity goes, but people still want to run businesses and have signs, you now are going to be flourishing in the zombie apocalypse because you know how to do cutting and you can make signs. It's a silly idea, but you know, I do think that way sometimes. What skills do I have that would help me get Rick and Michonne and all those guys to safety, or help them rebuild civilization? Alright, if you're not a Walking Dead fan, you won't get those references. Whoops, I made a little booger there. Who cares? I'll fix it later. Now, I very nearly did cover in one coat there because I put white in my paint. And because I put white in my paint, it covered better than if I had not put white in my paint. But since that outline is black, I can fix that with the black paint. Alright. Alright, I'm just going to keep going and continue to cut that nice straight outline. Look how much faster it is too than trying to paint a straight line with a tiny little brush. Now, when I was in college, we didn't do this. In graphic design class, we had these things that, oh my goodness, all of a sudden I can't even remember what they're called. Craig Jones, if you're watching this video, please write in the comments what those things were called that we loaded with paint to get straight lines. And you can run it up against a straight edge. Now, look, I ran out of paint. So I'm going to grab some more paint, stick it on here, and I'm going to grab some more white, stick it on here, mix it up. It was a something rule, something, not a slide rule. I'm going to have to look that up. I'll put it in the comments if Craig doesn't do it. Craig was one of my college buddies in graphic design class. Alright, here we go. Oh no, it's not as dark as the other red. Doesn't matter. We're going to cover the whole thing. Perfectionism is the enemy of creativity. Now, one of the reasons I have a little booger over here is because I have a fold in my cardboard. Remember how in that one video I was showing you how to cut a piece of cardboard, and I said, don't worry about it if it doesn't have a fold. Don't worry about it if it has a fold, if it has a fold in it. Just really don't worry about it. There are lots of ways to clean this up. Alright. Oh no, I went out of the lines. Who cares? I'm going to clean this up with the black paint. Now, just to make sure that this is a nice red, I'm going to go over this with the red. And it doesn't matter that it's a slightly different color. I just want to make it redder. Oh no, I got white paint in my red. Look at that. I scooped it out. Really better for you to not dip your brush, but since this was primarily red, I wasn't worried about it. Alright, now I have my red done. And I am cleaning my brush, scrubbing it up against the bucket. I feel like I just can't teach that enough. because I have so many students who put the brushes away with acrylic paint in them. I had about double the amount of brushes that I was able to give you guys at the beginning of the semester, but some of you, you know who you are, did not get all the paint out of your brushes. This is what you do. Look, there's still more paint in there. Still more paint. All right, cleaning this one too. Whoops, got more paint on it. Got to clean it. All right, that one is nice and clean. This one's still got some red in it. And that one's nice and clean. All right, so the red is done. Now I'm going to go and I'm going to do the yellow. All right, so let's get some yellow. I think I'll use that same brush. Am I going to put white in the yellow? Yes, I'm going to put white in the yellow because it'll cover better. So here, I'm going to put this yellow up here. And I'm not going to use as much of that because there isn't as much yellow to paint. And I'm going to get the brush for the white. Get a little white. Okay. Pull the white into the yellow. Oh no, I got a little red in there. Doesn't matter. There's not enough red to do anything to make it orange. Not anywhere near enough. It'll make it a richer yellow. Alright. Now this, I don't need to do so many coats because it's a light color. But here I'm going to do the cutting again. I'm going to... Look at how I just curve that. You don't have to have a straight surface to do cutting. In fact, sometimes it even works better when you have... Oh, I just made a huge mess. Look at how I'm going to fix it. Look at that. I just swiped it in. Oh, there's a little more red in that brush than I thought, so I'm going to clean my brush. And I'm going to come back over it with some more yellow. And look, most of the red is outside the lines, so it doesn't matter. Because I'm going to hit it with black. What would happen if I decided not to cover up all that red that got mixed in with my yellow? Absolutely nothing. It doesn't matter. This is a mural. It's designed to be looked at from far away. And because it's designed to be looked at from far away, nobody's going to notice that little bit of orangey hue in there. But I'm still going to put a little more on there. Alright, now everything else I have to do is in the black family. I'm going to get a different palette because I am making a video and I do not want to have to clean all that up before I start doing this. Now, there's my black. I'm going to put some more black on here because I've got a lot of black to do. Look what happens if I go with straight black. Oh, it doesn't cover. What happens if I put white in my black? It covers better. Yes, you always want to add white. You never want to use pure colors from the tube unless you're doing some kind of special effect. But we're not doing a special effect. I'm going to make like a dark charcoal. Okay. And look at how that covers in one stroke. Okay. Now here I go with the cutting again. I got a bunch of cutting to do here, because this is my outermost. Now, this is, if this was canvas board, you could just lay some tape down and paint up to the edge of the tape, but it's not canvas board. And I'm afraid that if I were to lay tape on this, that it might pull the acrylic paint that I put on my cardboard as a background off. Now I'm going to shift to a narrower brush, because I just realized I'm going to be mixing with that red that I went over the edges with. So I'm going to use this smaller square brush. To cut on this outer edge. Cool. I love it when a plan comes together. Look at how that just goes right up next to that red. Isn't that nice? And do it again right up here. You know, more about the cutting. Every now and then I go to the hardware store to get brushes, big ones, or the paint store. And they actually have brushes that are called cutting brushes. And house painters call it cutting too, when they have to paint a straight line on the edge of a field of paint. That's why they're called cutting brushes. So now you know. I'm sure you'll sleep better tonight knowing that. You've probably been dying to know that for years and years. I'm just being totally silly now. I'm sure you never gave it a moment's thought. If you're not one of my students and you're listening to this, that was for them. It was just me being silly with my students. Making videos about doing stuff like this is really, really new territory for me. I normally never do this much talking. I normally never do any talking while I'm painting. I just sit in my studio listening to books, being quiet for hours and hours. But I know how it could make for a very boring video if I also do need to interject instructions to my students from time to time, so that's why I don't do one of those hurry up, fast forward with music dubbed in videos because I wouldn't be able to do that. I also feel like this is more like real class. And while we're doing this whole social distancing thing, a little more real class might be welcome. All right, now this is going to be tricky because I have nowhere to lay my hand. So look what I'm going to do. I'm going to hold my hand up with my wrist up with my other hand so that I can make it steady instead of trying to freehand that with my hand wagging around in the air. I suppose I could do it from the other side, but that just doesn't feel natural to me, so now, I just used up that little tiny white space between this shape and that shape. So you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to go in there and make this a little narrower because the tension, the visual tension created by that space is really visually important in this painting. So I'll probably go back and erase that, maybe touch it up with some white. I need to get a little more white over here in my black. So I'm going to do that. Alright, I'm going to go ahead and get this one out of the way because it'll be super easy. Look at how I just cut that curve. Make a nice, even line. Now I'm going to do the upper corner here, right here, for the same reason. Because it's going to be super easy, super quick and easy. Now I can just cut that edge. Okay. And now I'm going to do this one. And I'm almost done. Look how fast these go. You could have done one of these in a single class period. Less than a single class period. So with 5 squares you could have done the whole project in a week. So I know for a fact that you can get these done by next Friday because I've given you more time than you need. Whoops, that wasn't quite so straight and clean. It's okay, I'll fix it. There we go. There we go. Again, I'm going to hold my hand. I'm going to use my hand to hold my wrist. There. Now, I got a little yellow up here, so what are we going to do about that? I'm going to clean that up by touching it up with a little white paint. All right? Boom. Boom. No more yellow. There's a little black right there. Touch it up. Oh, I forgot my little teeny tiny spot down here in this corner. There. All right. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is how we do that. Look at that. There's my little, oops, there's my little, what do you call it, the little square. And here's the big piece that I made from it. Okay, that's all there is to it. And you do that 4 or 5 more times depending on how many squares you have here, okay? All right, I'll see you on the other side of this collective mural. The next video I make will be about putting these things together. All right?